We continue our knowledge sharing mission through a series of interviews with marketing leaders from all around the world and are thrilled to have Gilbert with us today.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to CMO Chats. My name is Gilbert, and I'm the CMO at Chiliz.
Hi, Gilbert. Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and your role at Chiliz?
Yes, sure. Very excited to be here for starters. I've been with Chiliz now for the past 6 years and a half. Seems like 20, 30 years. Because if you work in the intersection of crypto and sports, I mean, it's very, very fast paced. And yeah, I mean, like any other CMO, there's a lot of thrill in bringing the teams together to kind of organize events, put campaigns together, bring our mission home, but also lots of challenges in the market, which is very much also dictated by market conditions. So we would have to kind of to adapt a little bit to those. And of course, all the ongoing challenges that marketers face these days.
Tell us a little bit more about yourself and how you got into marketing.
So that's going to be a bit of a long one, so I'll try to keep it very short. So actually, my background is in IT and technology, right? So I graduated in computing and technology quite a few years ago now. But then, very strangely, I had always been a big sports fan myself, right? So here locally, together with a few of my friends, we've actually launched a local soccer team, right? So we took one of the ancient cities on the island, which was not represented by a football team, and kind of we put a team together, which sounds like a fun thing to do, and in fact it was for a very long time. But it's also quite daunting, because whether you're a small team or a big team, the challenges are more or less the same. Of course, you're working with different budgets, different aspirations, and I guess that was a platform that really got the marketeer out of me, right? So I was there with zero budget at hand, with no story behind it, no brand to sell, so I had to basically create everything from the start. And slowly I started kind of getting close to what marketing really is, which is also that, I think, in a nutshell, is to wow people as well, right? And that's what we've done, of course, in everything in the context of the scale, what we're talking in. But it's there where then I furthered my studies, was involved in SaaS companies for a long time, both in marketing and then eventually running the companies. And then a few years later, here I am actually with a dream job, right? Bringing both sports and technology together. And yeah, I've been doing that for the past 6.5 years.
Can you tell us a bit more about what Chiliz does?
You have to look at Chiliz as an ecosystem, right? So it's a crypto company, it's a Web3 company that has also been powering and created fan tokens. It's being digital assets, empowering sports teams. We have now around 80 plus sports teams that are now fan token partners with the likes of Manchester City, Juventus, Barcelona, Paris Saint-Germain, and many others. And whilst Chiliz has its own chain, right? Sports, we also have socials.com, which is a wallet and a fan engagement platform under the Chiliz umbrella, which kind of offers fan tokens, right? And allows people to acquire fan tokens. They can trade fan tokens, but they can also stake fan tokens on the socials app to then redeem the number of rewards that we have. So with our esteemed partners, we have deals in place that allows not only fan token holders to redeem rewards, so rewards like VIP ticketing, flying with the team, meet and greet with players, playing on the pitch. We have quite a few playing goals on the pitch coming up, so token holders can actually play at the Juventus Stadium in the next couple of weeks. They can do the same at Tottenham and the other teams. But they also, besides that, they also have some of the decision making that is given to fan token holders to leave their mark on. And the first the first official decision was back in 2019 with Juventus, when fan token holders decided what song to play at the stadium after each goal, which sounds, maybe today, maybe a couple of years later, that fan engagement now is really in, sounds a small feat, right? But at the time, getting clubs to actually involve fans and get fans deciding stuff, touching the sporting element, that's not easy at all. We've done some great ones, mind you, like with Galatasaray. I remember we had a crazy afternoon when Dries Mertens had just moved from Napoli to Galatasaray, and we had fans actually voting on the number that Dries Mertens should put on his shirt. So lots of the stuff, bus designs, we've done some cool things. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, that sounds pretty amazing. Do you guys have a partnership? Is partners with Chiliz as well for tokens?
No.
No.
Lazio are fan token partners. They're with Binance though.
Okay.
You support Lazio by any chance?
Yes, I do.
Nice.
What is your main marketing focus at the moment?
So at the moment, the main marketing focus is to really bring the fan token as a product category in front of as many eyes as possible, right? So even though fan tokens have been around for the past 5 years, it's still a relatively new digital asset, not something that all crypto traders or mainstream fans are fully aware of, even though we've done a lot of activities over the past, but there's still a lot that has to be done, right? And that is kind of our main focus today, which is an exciting one because different to what we've done previously with apps, right? Or what like we would do with a developer chain. Actually marketing a product category has a little bit of different rules to the game than the classical product offerings, right? Why? Because you do want to sell less, but actually educate more. Which is what we're trying to do. We really want to make sure that we are seen and heard as an authority within the space because we're representing fan tokens in its entirety. You've mentioned Lazio fan token, right? So even though Lazio as a fan token doesn't sit within the Chiliz fan token ecosystem, it's still a fan token, right? It's still a fan token that sits within the fan token categories. So we're being as open as possible, open-minded as possible, but also as inclusive as possible, right? So covering content not just in relation to the fan tokens within our ecosystem, but those that exist all around us.
What would you say is the biggest challenge for marketers today?
That's a good one. The biggest challenge for marketers. Actually, I was reading. I think it was last week. So I was reading a line from Seth Godin. I think an interview or a speech he gave a couple of weeks ago, where he outlined that anything the market touches is marketing, right? And I think that is one of the biggest challenges that marketers face today. So if you really want to do this job well, you need to step on a real lots of toes because you're gonna ask those uncomfortable questions. You're gonna get on the product's back to make sure that they're actually providing the best features, the best user experience possible. You're gonna sit closely with your partners or with your sales team to try and make sure that you cater the offerings to that kind of can attract the right people. You're sitting with customer support. You're sitting with the finance team asking for more budget. So I think the biggest challenge is right that if as a marketer you really want to do things well and really shake up the status quo, I think there's a lot of toes to step on.
Definitely. Now let's talk a bit about marketing's relationship with sales, right? So out of all marketing initiatives that you're in charge of, which one do you think your sales department traditionally has been more grateful for or excited about?
Yeah, I mean, we have a particular setup internally, right? That, I mean, yes, there's marketing and sales, but there's also an expectation that marketing runs part of those sales. I think there are quite a few initiatives. As a company, we live a lot out of the buzz that we create, right, around the activities that are happening around the tokens, right? So we're in a very lucky position, or at least I'm in a very lucky position as a sports and a tech fan myself, to get my hands really dirty on campaigns or initiatives that touch kind of both sides of the spectrum. And we've done quite a few things, right? So we've done very recently, for example, in Brazil, we had a really cool art design mural really close to the Maracana Stadium, where we started narrating the 5-year story, the 5-year journey of fan tokens. There were NFC chips integrated within the mural, so people could redeem NFTs through it. So very recently, I think a couple of weeks ago, in preparation to the semi-final of the Coppa Italia in Italy, we actually branded the metro that takes the train from the Milan Center to the San Siro Stadium, and we kind of split the train in two. So one which is Milan fan token branded, one which is Inter fan token branded. So we try and get people to actually pick a side and also engage with us on QR codes. I think one of the coolest activations that we have running right now is the game scored buzz that you see in all Serie A games or in most of the Serie A games, where actually goals that are being scored we've actually managed to influence the protocol of the game, right? Which was a nightmare to get to do, as you can imagine, right? So now the referee, anytime a goal is scored, he actually collects that specific ball, hands it out, and there's someone from our team that is putting it in a bag, and then that is auctioned for fan token holders or social.com users. So I think we've done quite a few. There are so many that, to be honest, I can't remember all of them. But yeah, hope we made them proud more often than not.
Well, that's really fascinating, actually. So in the games, even in Serie A, when I see that ball being put into the bag, that's you?
Yes, that's us.
Wow,
That's us.
I have so many questions.
Yeah. Actually, and you know what? I am, as you can see from the shirts I have behind, I'm a big football fan. So now when I watch the games with my kid, like, you know that the VAR protocols, you know, at times there's this 30-second wait. Now, like, the goal is actually a goal when you see that ball going into the sack, right? So my kid is like, so it became a moment, and like these small things. My dad always tells me this. I think we'll realize, and I'll realize what we're doing maybe in 10 years' time, right? When you look back and say, oh geez, I think we've done quite a bit.
Yeah. I have a couple of questions around events now, Gilbert. So I wanted to ask you, what's the most successful event or engagement piece that you've hosted, and why?
Yeah, so we attend quite a few events ourselves. So as you know, in terms of the crypto space, there are quite a number of events that are standard that they take place every year. We try to attend the most important ones because it's very important to be seen, right? It's very important, especially when there's a crypto winter like the past year or so. It's very important that you stay relevant, right, at a time where the market conditions are not that great. But we've done quite a few ones. So a couple of years ago, we attended also the Web Summit, and we got Alessandro Del Piero to join, our CEO, on stage. With Del Piero, we worked on a few gigs as well. But then we had like a signing session right after, which got a lot of attention. I can remember the queues like were insane. And Del Piero's agent was like, listen, like we're late. We can't do all of these. And he was like, if they're here, I'm going to do every single one. And it took us, I think, easily 1 hour, 1.5 hours to get everyone the signed pictures and kind of photographs, which was fantastic. Last year, we attended the Paris Blockchain Week, and we got also Blaise Matuidi, a French world champion there. Like, it was crazy. People were kind of all over the place. And actually this year, I think something completely different. We didn't have a star on our booth, but I don't know if you recall that there was this crypto entrepreneur that bought this banana duct tape by 6.2 million or something, and then it a couple of weeks later. So we recreated. So the Paris Blockchain Week, it's organized at the Louvre, right? So the whole team was the art of integration and how you can integrate fan tokens, the chain, and everything into the ecosystem, kind of drawing on the art elements. And we actually framed a duct tape baguette since we were in Paris, which was really fun to see how people reacted to it, how they stopped by pictures. Paris Blockchain, we kind of referenced us, people uploading pictures on Facebook, LinkedIn, tagging us. So yeah, it was quite interesting.
Yeah, that was a pretty smart move, to be honest. What are the most significant challenges you face when hosting or attending events?
So the challenges there are mainly in relation to, I always see events as being very multifaceted, right? So and this, I think, ties in also to the classic question that we get also internally, right? But how are we going to measure ROI around these events? It's because different teams would want to get a different thing out of events, right? So from a marketing perspective, would want to make sure that we're getting the brand affinity. We want to make sure that that our message is popping, that people can really relate and stop by and kind of interact. Drawing to the same event that I was referring to earlier, we also had like a fun poll on the stand as well, where people had to answer by putting a ping pong ball in one of the slots. Get also a feel of how people are interacting, whether they're enjoying their time on the stand, how they react to the merchandise. it's also very qualitative as well, right? Because you tend to spend lots of time like listening to feedback, if people like your brand, if people talk about you, if people want to take pictures at your booth, so on and so forth. But then there are also other needs and other more important business needs, right? So in terms of the chain, it's how many developers, how many projects we speak to that are interested on developing projects on chain. There are also a lot of third-party suppliers and partners, both marketing and non, that we can speak to, investors, KOLs. So there are a lot of things that we try and get out of events. We typically attend events in big teams to have a nice, good representation of all the different areas of the business. And then kind of bringing everything together to try and make it as successful as possible. But yeah, trying, I think, to satisfy all the needs is the most challenging thing. And also, I know it sounds super operational, but also actually picking who's going to these events is also a challenge, right?
Definitely. No, I agree. You need to have the right people at the events, depending on the target audience, depending on what the theme of the event is, depending on who's in front of you. So I think that makes sense. What career advice would you give to anyone starting in the marketing industry?
Okay. So I think, let me tell you how I've always worked it out kind of in my career and my life, right? So for me, mantra has always been in making things happen, right? And for me, marketing is making things happen, but also making them matter, right? Which is what people are after today. Today, we have to keep in mind that people are bombarded by thousands of ads and brands every single day. As you walk through the grocer, you're bombarded by I don't know how many brands at a single point in time, or if you take a scroll on Instagram, so on and so forth. So I think that the most important thing that marketers need to bring is not just the creativity, inspiration, all the storytelling, emotional connectiveness, and everything that you'll read these days, right? But most importantly is making sure that the ideas you bring to the table, or that the team brings to the table, right? Because we are the ones always here having these conversations, but in reality, we owe it all to the fantastic teams that we lead, right? But the most important thing is that whatever the team proposes, you actually make it happen. There have been so many, and there are so many bright people around that have lots of these fantastic ideas. They're really good at articulating them, at pitching them, but then they fail in execution, right? So for me, all the strategic, all the talking, all the decks, all the briefs, they're all great, but I'm really stressed with myself first and my team as a result on actually let's kind of make it go live. And even if it's not perfect, right? And I know it's always recommended, right, to go, I'm going to use like a shitty first draft, right? So at times, even we refer to it like as the SFD. At times, if you don't have a fully refined concept or a fully refined final product, at times it's good to go with kind of a phase one of it, test the waters, but then at least you have numbers, you have a stronger narrative to build on, as opposed to just decks, briefs, ideas, concept documents that never see the light of day.
Makes sense. What do you believe is the biggest opportunity for CMOs today that might not have been available in the past?
I think the most obvious one is definitely the fast introduction of AI, right? I think there is a lot that we can do with AI these days. This week we announced a partnership with a very cool esports partner called Ninjas in Pajamas, and my team was taking me through the creative concept and kind of how we brought the announcement video to life, and how they're actually integrating AI, right, to really support in creating these quicker, better, crisper, sharper, so on and so forth. So I think we're still at a point where people are still a little bit afraid of AI. They see the opportunity of AI. Most of us use AI on a daily basis, but do not know yet how to balance all of it together. What's funny as well is that now we're getting kind of the wrong end of the stick of that as well. Is like when you put a brief together or an article together or a campaign together, maybe the first feedback is, great, did ChatGPT do that? And like, no man, we've been doing this like 4 years, right? So way before ChatGPT. But in reality, there's no shame neither, right? In using these AI tools and making sure, one thing that we've been doing with our team very recently is also using AI to critique our own ideas, right? So getting these briefs, these concepts into AI, and asking AI to actually critically look at that to see how you can improve it. I think we can do things way faster. I think we can come up with way more ideas. I think we can be way more always on than we've ever been before. I think there's less excuse on us as well, right? So on the teams as well. Operationally, it will still be a little bit of a nightmare because then you need to manage expectations. Yes, you'll be able to cover maybe way more ground way quicker, but you need to understand kind of where AI starts and stops and where the human being starts and stops. Because at the end of the day, we're not telling the story to AI, right? We're telling stories to people. We're trying to sell an idea to people. So at the end of the day, if we start losing the authenticity in our offerings, then I think there's not much left.
Absolutely, Gilbert. For my last question, I'd just like to ask you a very easy question, and that is, if you were to describe the role of the CMO in one word, what would that word be and why?
If I had to tie that into the making things happen, which I was referring to earlier, I would say resilience, right? Because there is no other way for you to be able to make things happen if you are not resilient. Because then again, tying to the phrase I stole from Seth Godin, which is that marketing basically is anything that touches the market. That means that you need to go and have those uncomfortable conversations, whether it's with your CEO, whether it's your CFO, with the chief product officer, with the teams, with sales, with biz dev, with ops, to try and be involved as much as possible in decision making, right? So why would we remove a feature that's gonna enrage customers, right? Why isn't marketing part of that conversation? We know what's gonna come next. CMOs have to be resilient, they have to be patient, but they should never kind of give in, right? Because I think the minute that we start letting the surrounding environment take over, because let's face it, at times it's easier, to sit back and say, listen, you know what, I don't agree with this, but so be it, right? It's been decided, so be it. Of course, there's a fine line between accepting decisions and kind of having sounded arguments that always get you to a certain point. Maybe you'll never get it, not maybe, you're never going to get it your way every single time. But I think making sure that marketing is truly represented in most of the decision making, I think that is.
Thank you, Gilbert. That was as mentioned, my last question. So thank you very much for taking part in the series. But yeah, it was very nice to meet you. So you're a huge sports fan. You have a huge array of shirts there. Were those given to you by players or?
Yeah, so I have, so this is signed by Matuidi last year. This is by all of Atletico Madrid's team. So you remember when they won the league last game against Barcelona?
Yeah.
What was interesting during that game, which we saw again Inter and PSG today, the last 2 weeks, is that the token was actually going up and down based on how the team was performing during the game, right? So if you look at some of the tweets on the Fan Tokens X account, you'll see that during the Inter game, when Inter went up, the token reacted positively. Then I believe it was 2-0, even more so. And then it dipped when they got down 3-2, then it spiked up again. So, and we had a very similar trajectory for Barcelona Atleti, which was the last league game.
Yeah.
I believe it was during COVID.
Yeah.
I think Barcelona were leading, then Atleti drew, then I think Godin scored the winning goal, and Atleti won the league last game.
Yeah.
So it was fascinating to see how the token was actually reacting to live events.
In real time. And are people trading on the platforms during that time?
They trade on exchanges.
Yeah, so they're trading real time while the game's happening.
Yeah, totally. So
that's amazing. So if you had in mind that Inter was gonna go back to 4-3, and let's say that you traded on 3-2, like that would have been.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. I mean, then again, the market does what the market does, right? So for us, we just take a step back and kind of look at it unfolding. But it's interesting because traders and crypto traders, it also means that there is a very nice intersection between crypto traders and sports, right? Because if you're in crypto only and you're not watching what's happening because you don't care, then there wouldn't be that movement.
Of course, no, it wouldn't be as interesting.
So lots of learnings there.
Are the fan tokens, are they also affected by Bitcoin's performance?
Yeah, I mean, Bitcoin impacts all of the markets, right? And the big stuff like you remember when the FTX thing happened like a couple of years ago. So when there are big movements in the market, I don't know, when the war broke out, recent war declarations, the tax tariff thing. So then the market moves similarly to how it will move on stock market. It moves very similarly kind of on crypto as well. So yeah, so it impacts everything.
All right, Gilbert, I definitely have a lot of questions for you, but I'm going to let you go. All right, have a great weekend, Gilbert. Speak to you soon.
Thank you. A pleasure meeting you.
Yeah, pleasure mine. Thank you.
Yes,
Bye
bye.
bye.